Is so controversial, but you don't need to teach your toddlers a lesson about their tantrum or their bad behavior in the moment. And saving it for later, saving it for another time is not the same as quote unquote letting them get away with it, or letting them walk all over you, or letting them run the show, or whatever else things that are being said in your brain or that other people are telling you. The reason why, because in the moment when toddlers are doing a tricky behavior, they are in their emotional brain. They are not in their logical, their reasoning, their thinking brain, the part of their brain that can actually learn skills. They are operating from their nervous system, from their fight or flight, from their dysregulated emotions. So even trying to teach them a lesson in that moment is going to be like talking to a brick wall. It's going to go in one ear and out the other. And honestly, it's going to be way more frustrating for you than anything else. You can absolutely set a boundary. You can absolutely keep everybody safe. You can absolutely be like, no, we don't do that. You're not allowed to do that. I'm going to step in and intervene here. But teaching them a lesson, teaching them what else to do, teaching them how else to manage their big emotions besides hitting, yelling, being rude, spitting, throwing stuff, etc., pushing over their siblings, whatever else they're doing, you can do it in another moment. And that's why in my framework, I have a whole section that's called prep. Prep is this idea that I realized I was doing with my kids where like whenever they had a tricky moment or bad behavior or a tantrum, I had this little note in my head of like, oh, they need to learn like what else to do besides hitting me, or they need to learn how to manage their frustration besides hitting or besides screaming or whatever. And so I would kind of make a note in my head of like, hey, later today when everybody's calm, we can play a game or we can sing a song or I can read them a book about that new skill. Because when they're calm is when their brain is actually going to be able to absorb that lesson and lock it in tight so the next time that moment comes up, they make a better decision. No, the other question I get about this a lot is like, does this have to be a huge like half an hour long lesson because my toddler has the attention span of like a goldfish and after 30 seconds they're ready to go? No, that's why when I talk about prep, I talk about it in terms of like games and fun, right? This can literally be like reading one picture book or singing one song about what to do when we feel frustrated, or even being like, hey, I brought you these beanbags. Next time you feel angry, instead of kicking me, throw a beanbag on the ground. Let's try. And then you throw the beanbags for 5 minutes. Like, it gets to be so simple once you understand this framework and how to implement it with the tricky moments that are coming up with your toddler. Because you're setting a boundary in the moment, because you're regulating with them in the moment, and then you're coming back to it the other times, you're not letting them get away with it. You're not letting them walk all over you. You're not being a permissive parent. You're actually teaching them in a way that's going to stick. So if you want to know how to do that, go grab my Toddler Tantrums guide because I teach you exactly.